Well, good morning. As I said, I'm Craig Stockwell. I'm Director of the Environmental Conservation Science Program. I wanted to introduce you to a number of folks that you may work with over the next few years, and I'll post this presentation on the ECS website so that you can refer to it later. Robin Foss-Cummings is in charge of dealing with a lot of the forms that you will have to fill out, such as your plan of study. Nani Tangen is in charge of business operations, and for some students, that if you go to a meeting, a national meeting, you'll contact Nani to be reimbursed. And there are a number of students who have some ECS funding I'll talk about in a few minutes. The Environmental Conservation Science graduate program is housed in the College of Graduate Interdisciplinary Studies. Ben Duncan is our interim dean. And another key player as you get close to graduating is Dan Nygaard, who processes the dissertations and theses. They have to meet a certain NDSU enforced standard, and so your dissertation needs to be submitted usually about at least a month ahead of the graduation. I think it's close to a month and a half, and all those deadlines are available on the graduate school website. So I wanted to go through, I'm the director, but I have a lot of help. There's a lot of folks on the ECS steering committee, Laura Aldrich-Wolf from Biological Sciences. Christine Cornish is a grad student representative from Biological Sciences. Aaron Dye from Social Science, or Soil Science. Jill Hamilton from Biological Sciences. Robert Hearn from Agribusiness and Applied Economics. Ken Lepper from Geosciences. Zulu Lin from Agricultural and Biosystems Engineering. Wei Lin from Civil Engineering. John McAvoy from Microbiological Sciences, Shafi Rahman from Agricultural and Biosystems Engineering, myself from Biological Sciences, and John Sweetman. We try to make all major decisions regarding curriculum via consensus, and so all of these folks are potential folks you could contact if there are certain things that you'd like to see changed, and of course, myself as well. Oh, and I'm sorry, and Lydia Tackett from Geosciences. ECS has a number of ambassadors, and these are students that are partly funded through ECS, and they're funded, their advisor wrote a grant for recruiting, and their responsibility as an ECS ambassador, so $5,000 of their annual stipend comes from ECS. But the only thing we ask in return is to help with some recruiting activities. So Emma Chandler is the ECS ambassador. Jordan Dahl in Geosciences. Lyle DeSanto in Biological Sciences. Yeah, Emma Chandler, by the way, is in Biological Sciences. Hui Hu in Biological Sciences. Mustari Kanam in Agrisystem and Biosystems Engineering. Tong Lin in Agricultural and Biosystems Engineering, Gretchen O'Neill in Geosciences, Zach Phillips in Geosciences, Jacob Walker Swanee in Plant Sciences. The ECS program has more or less three prongs. We have a environmental science prong, a track, and this is for students that work on issues such as water quality, solid hazardous waste, industrial pollution control, environmental management, climate change. Conservation biology, our students who work on biodiversity, climate change, invasive species, restoration ecology, and wetland ecology. And environmental social science are generally students who work in the area of environmental social science are students who work in the area of environmental economics and human dimensions. So the program is housed within the graduate school, but each of you has a home department, and that home department is aligned with your advisor. So if your advisor's in biological sciences, that's your home department. So For students are environmental science track, biological sciences, civil engineering, biosystems and ag engineering, geosciences, microbiological sciences, and soil science are the typical departments that you may be in. Conservation biology, most students are hosted within biological sciences, entomology, microbiological sciences. I left off plant science. And environmental social science is hosted primarily in the business and applied economics department. So when we put this program together, since we have people from geosciences, agriculture, biology, we wanted to put it together in a way to foster interdisciplinary scholarship. One way we do this is through our weekly Green Bag seminar series. And during these weekly sessions, graduate students will often present a research proposal during their first year as a master's student within their first 2 years as a PhD student. And it is a proposal presentation. It doesn't have to have any data. It's simply, here's my research question, here's how I plan to go about it, here are the possible outcomes I might see. As you come near the conclusion of your time here, you'll take ECS 790, the seminar, and during that semester, you'll give your dissertation defense seminar. And so that particular seminar you give to ECS is more or less a practice run for your defense. And so most students take that the last semester they plan to be on campus. And during that semester, you take ECS 790 for 1 credit. This all being said, ECS students are expected to attend Green Bag seminars throughout their time here to help foster interdisciplinary scholarship. In addition to graduate students, ECS faculty and invited speakers are part of the series. In addition to the Green Bag lunch seminar series, we ask that ECS students take cross-disciplinary courses to broaden your horizons. Also, your graduate advisory committee composition has to have 1 faculty member from outside your home department. And that person can serve as the graduate student representative. So for master's students, typically they'll have they'll have their advisor, an additional committee member from within their home department, and then a 3rd member from outside of their home department. If you have a member from outside of NDSU, that's fine, but that doesn't count toward the 3. So that would just be an additional committee member. So the curriculum is set up where to inspire you to think outside your area, we have a series of cross-disciplinary courses. And so if you're a master's student, you have to take 1 cross-disciplinary course, and a PhD, you have to take 2. And when I say cross-disciplinary, say you're in biological sciences, there are courses, say in geosciences, GIS, statistics, certain statistics courses that might count as a cross-disciplinary course, and we have a list of those in the curriculum guide. Scientific integrity is a required for all students in ECS. It's a 1 credit course. You get 1 credit for the ECS seminar, usually your last semester. And then you take track courses. These are typically the courses within your discipline. And these are agreed upon by you and your advisor and your committee. And so a minimum of 15 credits and 20 credits. And the star refers to didactic. I'll get to that a little bit later. And then for your thesis dissertation, you can take 6 to 10 credits and up to 62 credits for the PhD. And the total is 90 credits for a PhD and 30 for a master's. And when students put their plan on study together, I think most committees try to keep it as slim as possible. So for you may, as a graduate student, actually want to take 24 credits during your master's. Your committee might try to get you to limit it to the minimum required on your plan of study. You're always welcome to take the extra courses, and your tuition waiver will cover those. It's just that it reduces the need for additional paperwork if you end up deciding not to take that extra course you had thought you'd take. The this curriculum and then the didactic courses, you'll hear about that. These are basically courses that are they're traditional stand and deliver courses where professor stands up and lectures or leads a discussion. And it's meant to discriminate these from like seminar only topical courses. And so that's an NDSU requirement or a characterization of courses that I never heard about before I came here, but you'll learn about that. And I think Christine will provide more thoughts on that as well. I will send out later today the curriculum, so you each have a copy of it. We're also concerned and interested in your professional development, and so students are encouraged to present at a professional meeting, and ECS will contribute $350 per year per student to attend a meeting. You simply need to submit the name of the meeting, the name of the presentation and your co-authors and the location of the meeting to myself. And then I'll contact Nani Tangen to let her know that I've allocated $350 for you to attend the meeting. The way this works in is often your department or your advisor or other graduate, your home college might have other opportunities to round out the additional funding sources. We've had many years, we've had an ECS symposium and poster session, and this is something that we may do this year. We'll see how things go. We'll talk with Christine about that as the year unfolds. And then we have workshops. We have usually at least one workshop a year, and they're on topics of interest or that are timely. The one coming up starting next week is September 9th and 16th. They'll run from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. and it's offered by the USGS. So I learned about this. One of my grad students, Justin Warniak, was aware of this as he's a USGS employee. And so they agreed. They typically don't offer it to people outside of USGS, but they graciously agreed to run it for 30 people. I have 25 signed up currently, and it's now open to ECS students and ECS faculty and graduate students to other programs. So first 5 people I hear from can add in, participate in this, and I'll provide more information to those who sign up. So this being said, there won't be a green bag lunch next week or the following week because the workshop will be going across that time period. Structured decision analysis. We have had a couple workshops on this approach, which is used by a lot of agencies. It's a form of backward design where you look at the outcomes of what you're hoping to gain from some type of say management, and then work backwards to design the types of research questions and approaches you would take. And so it's very possible we'll have another one this next year. Students who have taken it have really enjoyed it. And we've had a few workshops in scientific communication. We bring in journalists to tell you how to talk to the press and how to take the information you have within your discipline and distill it down into a brief and concise communication outline that you can share with the press. And so we've done this a few times, and I'll consult with ECSGSA about what the goals, which of these would be of most interest. In terms of engaging with the program, there's an ECS graduate student handbook. It's on the website. I'll send that out later today. And the rest of the talk will go over to Christine, but I will stop right there.
How to navigate grad school as an ECS student. So this is going to be kind of the what, where, whens, and hows of the ECS program. So it's going to be mostly content-based. I will have some suggestions when it comes to timeline and things like that in here, but otherwise it will be mostly content pulled from the handbook and the curriculum. Okay, so some foundational program requirements. So these are just the base requirements, a brief overview, and this is going to be for master's and doctoral students. Everybody needs to complete a plan of study. I'll get into each one of these points also in detail later on in the presentation. But the plan of study is just kind of a progress for you and your committee once that's formed to show courses and kind of your overall plan in grad school. The Graduate Supervisory Committee, as Craig touched on, again, this is just a handful of members that will kind of guide you through your graduate degree, and they will also be the ones that you defend to, and you'll have various meetings with them. The proposal presentation. So this is, again, what Craig mentioned. This is where you don't have to have anything written. So for ECS, written requirements for a proposal, there are none. So all you have to do for the ECS program is give that 20 to 25 minute ECS green bag presentation. When there isn't a requirement for ECS, always refer back to your home department or your PI for those specific requirements. I'll try to point out all of those areas where ECS doesn't have specific requirements, but just make sure that you are paying attention to those details. So proposal being one of them. Same thing for a thesis or dissertation. So in the United States, thesis is for master's, dissertation is for PhD. I'm pretty sure outside the United States that is flip-flopped, but for us, so a little bit confusing, but again, for us, we have the requirement that you give that green bag, a 40 to 45 minute green bag presentation, and this is just basically, like Craig said again, a practice defense. So for this requirement, you would refer to the graduate school for those written requirements. And then for PhD students only, there are comprehensive exams. And for, again, the ECS program itself, there are no format requirements. So whether that has to be in written, in oral format, that is totally up to you, your PI, and your committee. So it's totally dependent on what they want to do. Okay, so other requirements are trainings. And some of the ones that I will mention here may only be for laboratory settings. So if you see a training and you're totally freaked out because you've never seen that in your life, that's most likely because it's just if you work in a lab. But I'm not going to go into details on this. The only one that I'm going to point out, because the school has been really heavy on it, is hazardous waste. So you need to take in-person hazardous waste training, and then you also have to take the online refresher for hazardous waste training every semester, so including summer, so fall, spring, and summer. Title IX is also in person, and one that gets me a lot, actually, ooh, I have a pointer, okay, is this annual notice of policies, or your medical provider / designator. This actually does need to be completed online annually, or else they will not waive your tuition. A very, very cool new thing that they put in is a track your trainings. So you can actually go, and I can do that very quickly. You can see your training, all of your training obligations that you've completed. And then if it's something that is typically face-to-face, they will put in here when you need to do that again. So that's a really nice feature. Okay. Another thing, is green bags. Again, like Craig mentioned, just reiterating, they've changed this semester to Wednesdays 12 to 1. So they will be every week, typically, unless a special event is occurring. And what these are just typically hour-long seminars, and faculty or staff or an invited speaker will come and give those talks. If it's not one of those two, again, it will be a student giving their proposal presentation, which lasts 20 to 25 minutes, or a student giving their thesis or dissertation, which would last the 40 to 45 minutes. For C, that thesis dissertation, the final presentation, there is actually a course which you will find in the curriculum. It's ECS 790, and it's a 1-credit course that you're required to enroll in for the semester that you're giving that green bag thesis dissertation presentation. So these green bag seminars on Wednesdays are again for the ECS program. So your home department may have additional seminar requirements. So make sure you are aware of those also. Okay, this is everybody's really, really big question. What the heck is didactic? What does it mean? So yes, I Googled it, and technically it means emphasizing instructional and informational qualities. So what that means for us is it means courses that aren't seminar based. So what you're going to want to look for in your courses are these numbers: 6, 7, 801 through 6, 7, 889, and then also 6, 7, and 891. So these are the courses that are all going to be didactic. So master's, you'll look in the left column. Doctoral, PhD students, you'll look in the right. How many didactic credits do you need to take? So here is specifying out of your 30 total credits, as a master's student, 16 of those 30 need to be didactic. If you're PhD, 27 out of 90 or 15 out of 60 need to be didactic. And the reason that's starred is because if you are a PhD student, sometimes you come in with a master's degree already, and up to 12 of those master's credits can transfer if approved by your PI and committee. So that's what that star means. So the 15 out of 60 would be if your 12 credits counted towards those didactic credits for you. So then again, stay on the left column or the right, but what counts as didactic specifically, scientific integrity is automatically a didactic credit because we're all required to take it. Then your cross-disciplinary courses, whichever ones those are, need to be didactic. And then your track, a handful of your track and tools courses also need to be didactic. Again, on the PhD side, starred if those master's credits transfer. So another big question is, can you have crossover? And the answer is yes. So say for instance, you have a track course as a master's student, it's 3 credits, and it is in your approved track courses. Those 3 credits count towards your total 12 credits of track courses, as well as long as it fits within these course numbers, 3 credits of your 16 didactic credits. As a side note to the curriculum, if you are on any kind of assistantship, the minimum number of credits you need to be enrolled in to maintain status is 6 credits for the fall and spring semester and 3 credits for the summer semester. And this is typical unless, of course, otherwise agreed upon by administration. Okay, so then who do you include then on your committee? So this would be the Graduate Supervisory Committee. So again, it's a little bit different for master's and PhD, but for master's students, you have 3 members. You need to have a minimum of 3 members. And for PhD, you need to have a minimum of 4 members. Who those members are is, one is your primary advisor. Then you need to have 1 or 2, depending on which type of graduate student you are, that are within your home department. So not necessarily within ECS, but within your home department. Lastly, you need at least 1 member that is outside of your home department. This is the member that typically stands in as the ECS affiliate. So to answer some questions that may have already arisen if you've seen the handbook and or curriculum requirements, but for a master's student, the outside member does not have to be outside your home college, just outside your home department. So that is the requirement.
Christine, can I chime in?
Yes.
So for the members, you could theoretically have a primary advisor in your home department, and then the other 2 members for a PhD could be outside of your home department. It almost never happens, but for small departments that sometimes can come up. But the minimum is 1 outside your home department. Since we are cross-disciplinary, there are cases where somebody actually might, may make more sense to have a committee comprised mostly of folks outside their home department. You need at least 1 outside your home department and your primary advisor. So, as if it wasn't confusing enough.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying. Yep, so then back to the handbook or curriculum wording. For PhD committee, it says that one of your committee members needs to be an appointee of the graduate school. However, that 1 member outside your home department is what would fill that role. So the purpose of them is to play as the interdisciplinary role, as well as kind of a quality control to your graduate process. Okay, so then timelines, these are very suggested. So again, don't freak out if you haven't completed some of these by what the handbook suggests. These are dependent on your PI and your home department, again, and or your committee if you have one formed already. But because of the content in scientific integrity, it is a requirement of the university. And so this should be taken within your 1st or 2nd semester. It covers things like safety, data recording, data falsification, and those types of things. So then the formulation of your committee, typically by the end of your 2nd semester, and these 2 points that are in the middle here mean that it would be representative of a master's and doctoral student. So then your plan of study. So again, this is just kind of that progress, small progress report of your courses and who is on your committee would either then be the end of the 1st year for a master's student or the end of the 3rd year for a PhD. Comprehensive exams, again, are only relevant to PhD students as a requirement. There's no timeline for this. I know some people who have completed it after 4 years, and I know some people who have completed it after 2. So this is all dependent on your consultations with your PI and your committee. Okay, some of the forms that I have here, unfortunately, I couldn't make this table larger or add in a lot of multiple requested forms because they were department specific. So if you have questions about additional forms, please let me know after. So these, again, are going to be forms that would apply to everybody in ECS. So first, the plan of study. I do have links here, and that will take you to the graduate school form, and this presentation will be posted on our website, so those links would be would work for you. What this does, again, tracks your courses and tracks different progress throughout your program. Then if you want ECS conference support, so this is for professional development to present at a conference, and like Craig stated, it's $350 a year if you apply to it, and you would send Craig an email here, and you would give him the authors, the conference name, location, and dates for that application process. The travel authorization form, so this is going to be if you have field work or a conference that is out of state. You will be able to find this, again, this is a link to business page where they have their forms. This is typically signed by, if you're receiving an external funding source, or your home department chair and or PI. Last but not least, if you have any ECS related items, whether that be a form, whether that be your plan of study, you will contact Craig for his signature, and then as well as your PI would need to be informed of that as well. For anything that is not ECS related, signatures would go directly to your home department chair as well as your PI. So for,
hey, Christine.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just want to jump in here. For travel authorization, I believe that has to be completed before you go. So like if you don't fill it out until after you come back, I don't think they'll pay for anything. So just something to note there is make sure that you fill all of that out in advance of you leaving. That has to be done before.
Yeah.
Like you go anywhere.
Definitely. Good point. Yep. The travel authorization form needs to be filled out ahead of time. Thanks, Cody. So quick example for a proposal, a written proposal, this would go to your home department chair and your PI, not necessarily to Craig unless he's on your committee. Okay, some external resources. The ombudsperson, so this is just going to be university-wide. The ombudsperson, her name is Christine, and she's an unbiased appointed voice of the public. So what her role is to help solve conflict, or you can even have counseling sessions with her. She's basically there to listen and help out in any way that she can. A really common use of the ombudsperson would be if you're having a conflict with your PI. And sorry if I didn't clarify, your PI would be your main advisor. If you're having conflicts with your advisor and don't feel comfortable communicating with them, the ombudsperson would be a very good resource. Again, this is a link to her website once the presentation is posted. Then there's various grad student support services through the actual graduate school. These are just a couple that are listed on their website, but free counseling, free writing center advice, childcare for, they have age requirements, and free IT services. So these are really good resources to use. This is just a page of a bunch of informative and helpful links. So this would take you to the master's plan of study. So for a master's student, this is what your plan of study form would look like. They've converted them into basically like a Google form that you will submit. But so all of these are links that you can use. The ECS curriculum is in here, the handbook, our schedule, and so on and so forth. Okay, so I want to get to the fun stuff because I know that was a lot of content thrown at you, but I just have a couple slides about the GSA and then we will move to questions. So what is the ECSGSA? It's a mouthful, the number one, so that's why it's a nice little acronym, but it's the Environmental and Conservation Sciences Graduate Student Association. So basically what we are, is we're a group of students that promotes support for each other and fellowship among other graduate students through various fundraisers, volunteering, and social events. These are our current officers. So you already know who I am. So with that, I'm gonna hand it over to Cody to introduce herself briefly, and then we'll go down the line.
Hi, my name is Cody. I'm a second-year master's student in the Stockwell lab, and I study fish behavior.
I don't think that Allie was able to make it today, but she's the secretary. She's a master's student in the Aldrich Wolf lab, and she studies fungal communities.
Hi, I'm Justin Warniak. I'm a third-year PhD student in the Stockwell lab. I study landscape genomics and northern leopard frog, and I'm the ECS treasurer.
And then I don't think I saw Sarah either. So Sarah is our technology representative. She does things with our website, and she is in geosciences. And I don't specifically know what her research is. See, that's why we need community building, interactive activities. Okay, so with that, our annual events. So we have ideally a couple events a semester, but obviously with current circumstances, some events didn't happen this year. But typically in the fall, we would do some kind of fundraiser and a holiday potluck. And I'll introduce the chili competition shortly. In the spring, we have Darwin Day, which is a really, really awesome outreach event, as well as graduate students that help set up typically get donuts and coffee, which is a nice plus. We also have an Earth Day event where typically there's an invited speaker that comes. In the summer, we have the Red River Zoo volunteer event, and we have a photo competition typically, which you've probably seen multiple emails from me already about this, but this is where you just go out, take cool pictures, submit it. Everybody votes on their top favorites, and this year we're turning it into a jigsaw puzzle. And then at any time in any semester, it's always encouraged to invite a speaker, an external speaker. Getting hosting experience is really great to have. You can ask Cody about that. She's hosted a lot of people already, so she's definitely the expert. So just to give a quick snippet about the chili competition, it's brand new. If we have good weather and I can get details down, we'll do it this fall. But it's where labs are going to submit one chili, and everybody is going to taste that chili. Probably not going to happen with COVID, but we'll see if we can work something out. And then we'll have a voting on it, and that lab will be the chili winner. That's the gist. But more on that later. So a couple other random things before I run out of time here. Just some group events that some of our graduate students are already currently involved in. And if you were at the biology orientation, you've already had some of this, but there's a STEM education book club, Wildlife Society. I think Jess mentioned an anime club. We also have different working groups. So we have a Black Lives Matter working group that is set up with the Biological Sciences Graduate Student Association. There's also a food pantry working group that Craig is spearheading to get a food pantry on campus. There's various volunteering events. Reforest the Red is something coming up in the next couple weeks where you plant trees around the Fargo-Moorhead area. And there's also some community gardens that you can go and volunteer at and basically just help garden. Then some last reminders. This is also a link to a signups page. If anyone after this presentation is interested in any of these things that I've mentioned, please stick around if you have time. If not, you can directly email me or get a hold of me in any way. So one thing about listserv emails, a couple of you have already probably noticed, if you reply to a listserv email that gets sent out, your reply will also get sent to the listserv. We've all done this, and we all immediately send typically an email that says, oops, I'm really sorry, just realized what I did. But the listserv emails, if you want to reply to Craig or I, just make sure that you would exit out the listserv email and type in our email. Craig mentioned the bystander intervention workshop and that there's openings. I already mentioned the photo competition. For green bag seminars, so what we're doing today, there is 2 full openings, so a 40 to 45 minute presentation, and there's also 2 half openings, so that would be a proposal talk, 20 to 25 minutes. So if you still need to do that or are interested in doing that, contact Craig. And then if in any way you are interested in possibly becoming an officer in the future, when openings arise, please let me know about that as well. With that, Craig and I's email is at the top there. If you have any ideas, suggestions, concerns, want to start your own subgroup of ECS that looks at, I don't know, plays video games or does Dungeons and Dragons, please reach out. We're happy to chat. Otherwise, thanks for being a part of the ECS program, and you can put any questions in the chat.
For Monica, a pro tip for pick the date of your thesis or your dissertation defense now, then work backward to set all your due dates for forms so that you know when everything is due to graduate on time. It is a little intimidating and things always change a little, but it'll keep you organized and on track. I think that's really good advice. And she also points out, double check with your advisor on how long they can fund you. Funding grants usually have a 3-year horizon, and so there's always faculty are always applying for renewals, but it's good for you to be aware of kind of what the circumstances are. I think that's really good advice.
Oh, there it is. Oh yeah, Craig, thank you for pointing that out. For PhD students, and I think I even had this but didn't mention it, at least 15 of those didactic credits need to be at the 700, 800 level.
Yeah, that came up after I typed, I think. And Darwin Day, if you want to contact Annika or Dr. Travers, especially to figure out how it'll be done this year. It's usually on Darwin's birthday or around his birthday in February. And typically they bring in a really good speaker and they set up outreach in the STEM building. And I was just pointing out that if ECSGSA wants to have an official volunteer activity, there's going to be a food distribution at the Fargo Dome. I believe it's September 17th. That's not directly tied to the food pantry, although we're looking to maybe redistribute their leftover food on campus subsequently. But if you want to help with that, let me know.
Last thing that I want to say, and then I want to be respectful of everybody's time. I missed the business cards on the bottom of one of my slides. So the business center, you can order official NDSU head letter business cards if you're going to a conference or something like that. Craig and I are wanting to get a head count on interest because if we are able to, ECS would like to cover those costs for ECS students. So if you are interested in that, just ping like an I in the chat, and otherwise I will let anybody go that needs to go. I will stick around if you have further questions though.
Kate Volk has a question.
If a student is having any kind of issue, what is the chain of command of expressing it? That would be, I guess, up to your comfort level also. Typically, if you're comfortable going to your PI, then you would. If you're not, then you would go to your department chair. If you're not comfortable going to them, you can always go to the ombudsperson. Last but not least, if it's a form of harassment or an issue along those lines, Title IX would be the resource to contact.
Thanks.
And students are welcome to come to me too. Often when if it involves advisor conflict, I should be involved you're welcome to come to me, or you can go directly to the graduate dean or to the chair of your own department. So whomever you feel most comfortable with. So there are, but if you do have a conflict, don't let it fester. It's easier to address these issues when they come up, when we're able to address them early on.
Thank you guys. I'm also wondering if you guys could touch on the counseling that NDSU offers to students. I'm not super familiar with it myself, but I think it's a good thing to talk about to incoming graduate students if they need that sort of thing, which is good, even if you don't need it, to get some counseling. But
yeah, so it's a free service through the graduate school, and I know now they're doing virtual setups. I'm not sure if they're back face-to-face, but you set up sessions with somebody as often or as few as you would like, and they're there to listen. They're there to give advice if you want it. And yeah, you can take issues that you're having in school, at home, with your PI, with your coworkers, to them, and they are a good resource to help you out. It's a good venting session if you need that to let it out.